Right now, if it starts raining, you have options: an umbrella, a raincoat, a car to run to. Even if you get caught completely unprepared, you're wet for 10 minutes before you find cover. Uncomfortable, but not dangerous. Now imagine the same rain, 50,000 years ago. No umbrella, no raincoat, no waterproof anything. Just you, your skin, and animal hide that soaked through in minutes. And the rain isn't stopping. It's been coming down for 3 days. Your fire's out. The ground is mud. The temperature is dropping. And staying wet in cold conditions for long enough doesn't just make you miserable. It kills you. Hypothermia, the dangerous drop in body temperature caused by prolonged cold and wet, was one of the leading causes of death in the ancient world. Not predators, not starvation. Water falling from the sky. For ancient humans, staying dry wasn't a comfort preference, it was a survival skill. And they got very, very good at it. So what did they actually do? The first answer was the most immediate. They moved. Ancient humans were highly mobile, and part of that mobility was reading the landscape before the rain arrived. Overhanging rock faces, dense forest canopy, shallow cave mouths, wide-branching trees. Nature was full of dry spaces, yeah, if you knew where to look, and if you moved toward them before the storm hit rather than after. But this required something that took generations to develop: pattern recognition. Ancient humans who survived storms were the ones who had learned to read the sky, the specific color of clouds on the horizon, the direction and smell of wind before rain came, the way certain animals behaved hours before a storm: birds flying low, insects disappearing, herds bunching together. These weren't superstitions. They were accurate observations, refined across thousands of years of watching nature closely enough to stay alive. The sky was their weather forecast, and they learned to read it better than most people today can read an actual weather app. But natural shelter wasn't always close enough, so ancient humans began doing something that separated them from almost every other animal on Earth. They built. The earliest known constructed shelters date back approximately 400,000 years. Simple frames of branches and large leaves, angled to direct rain away from sleeping people. Not elaborate, not permanent, but deliberate. Someone understood that the angle of a surface determined where water went. That insight, that you could redirect rain rather than simply hide from it, was the beginning of architecture. Ancient humans also needed portable protection, something they could carry and use on the move. And the answer was already on their backs. Animal hides, the same skins used for warmth, are naturally water-resistant when properly prepared. Fat rubbed into hide during processing fills microscopic gaps in the skin, creating a barrier that repels water. Ancient humans almost certainly discovered this by accident, noticing that fat-treated hides stayed drier than untreated ones. Over time, observation became technique. They weren't consciously making raincoats, but they were making raincoats. But animal hide could only do so much. In heavy, sustained rain, even well-treated hide eventually saturates. Ancient humans needed something more, and they found it by paying close attention to the world around them. Plants had already solved the problem of staying dry millions of years before humans arrived. Large, waxy leaves, common in tropical and subtropical forests, are shaped specifically to direct water away from the plant's center. Ancient humans living in forested environments noticed this. They began using broad leaves as immediate, portable cover during sudden rain. Hold one above your head at the right angle, and it functions, imperfectly but genuinely, as an umbrella. The oldest recorded evidence of deliberate leaf-based rain protection comes from ancient China and Southeast Asia. The first true umbrella, a collapsible frame covered with waxed silk, appeared in China around 2,000 years ago. But the impulse behind it is far older than any invention. It is ancient, instinctive, written into the behavior of people who lived in forests long before anyone thought to give it a name. Here's the part most people never think about, and this one genuinely surprised me when I first came across it. Ancient humans didn't just need to stay dry during the rain, they needed to stay dry through the night that followed, because cold, wet ground pulls heat from the body far faster than cold air does. A person who survived the storm but then slept on wet earth could still die before morning. Picture a mother sometime deep in prehistoric night, rain hammering outside a rock overhang, her child pressed against her, shivering. She is not thinking about philosophy or fire or tomorrow's hunt. She is thinking about one thing: keeping this child warm until sunrise. So she pulls dry leaves beneath them, strips of bark, every layer of insulating material she collected before the storm hit, now packed beneath her family like a handmade bed, holding whatever warmth their bodies can generate. That instinct, Insulating from below as much as protecting from above is one of the oldest survival decisions humans ever made. Archaeological evidence of sleeping surfaces made from compressed plant material has been found in South Africa dating back 200,000 years, with specific plants chosen deliberately for their insulating and pest-repelling properties. They weren't just keeping dry, they were engineering their sleep environment with materials selected for specific purposes. And then there was fire. Rain extinguishes fire. But ancient humans who had mastered fire understood something crucial. A fire maintained inside a sheltered space did more than provide warmth. It dried wet clothing, wet hides, wet bodies. It converted a damp, dangerous shelter into a survivable one. Keeping fire alive through a 3-day rainstorm was a skill as important as any other ancient humans ever developed. The communities that mastered it survived cold, wet seasons that killed others. Here's what connects all of it: the overhangs they ran toward, the hides they rubbed with fat, the leaves they held above their heads, the sleeping surfaces they built, the fires they kept alive through sustained storms. None of it came from science or written knowledge. All of it came from the same place everything ancient humans ever learned came from: attention, experience, and the willingness to remember what worked the last time the sky opened up. Every time it rains today and you reach for your umbrella without thinking, that gesture is the end of a line stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. To a person standing at the mouth of a cave, watching water pour off an overhanging rock, understanding for the first time that the angle of a surface determines where rain goes. They had no umbrella, but they had something far harder to build: the knowledge of how to read a storm before it arrived, how to find the dry places, how to create them when none existed, and how to keep a small fire alive through the dark and the wet until morning came. The rain hasn't changed, neither in the ways that matter most have we.